take it away with the intro. We can begin this shebang.
This is a pretty short intro. Just welcome everyone to day 2 of the Great Lore Tour. Today we'll be covering the regions of Eregion and Rhovanion. So, hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll start here at the Trollshaws. I believe so.
I bet now all the German people can't watch the video afterwards because there's some music in it.
Oh no! Well that's fine. They weren't here anyways. Okay. Welcome all to the second day of the Great Lore Tour. We're gonna start here in the Trollshaws, and I'm gonna take you to Rivendell. We're gonna start here at the most iconic spot of the Trollshaws. The three trolls, Tom, Bert, and William, that Bilbo found
User joined your channel
and
timed out.
foolishly tried to pickpocket to prove his burglary skills.
User joined your channel.
In trying to do so, he got captured by them and had to be
User
saved
joined your channel.
by the dwarfs, but they failed as well, because the trolls are cleverer than they were in the movies. They hid behind some bushes as the dwarfs came to check up on Bilbo. And they got sacked. So Bilbo just talked to them, basically, until the light of day hit them, and they turned to stone.
User in your channel timed
Very
out.
clever of Bilbo. And of course, Gandalf helped them along the way. Because Gandalf was an expert at manipulating voices. So if we come down here, around the east side of the hill, we can come to the Cave of the Trolls. Excuse me if I don't seem very mobile. I'm only using one hand to move because I'm using my phone to talk in the other.
User joined your channel.
Alright. Here we are in the Cave of the Trolls. This is where Thorin and Gandalf found their swords, as well as Bilbo, his sword. The swords that Gandalf and Thorin found were Orcrist and Glamdring, and they were Gondolin-made swords. Of course, Gondolin is the fallen ancient city of the elves. As for Sting, it didn't have a name. In fact, Bilbo gave it its name because of the spiders yelling Sting. Or not the spiders yelling Sting, but Bilbo likened it to a sting of a spider. Because he killed... Wait, did he kill spiders?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, anyways, let's move on.
User joined your channel.
Yeah, that's right, he did. Forgive me, I've been off loop for 2 months. So out this way and to the left, we'll continue on and sort of admire the scenery of the Trollshaws. Basically, the area that marked the Trollshaws was the Horwell and Loudwater. The Horwell is the river east of Weathertop, and the Loudwater is the one that runs down from Rivendell. Both the sources being up in
User
the
joined your
mountains.
channel.
It was called the Trollshaws because of course, the trolls, but well, yeah, that's basically it. It was their dwelling. It was the place that they sort of lived until, of course, the Dunedain and elves of Rivendell drove them out up into the Etten Moors, which was troll country. This is like the bungalow of trolls, and the Etten Moors was the mansion. What's
Someone
that?
hear me?
I can hear you just
Yep.
fine. I can hear you well.
User was moved to your channel.
No,
Alright.
why you do this? Why you do this?
Okay.
User left
Hush.
your channel.
Hush, little ones. Okay. In the common speech, it was the Trollshaws. But in the ancient Argonath kingdom, it was the domain of Rudor, which was, in its later years, ruled by the Hillmen of Angmar during the corruption of the Witch King. So that's why you'll see several ruined towers here and there. The biggest one is just east of us, if we can get there. But yeah, this was one of the 3 Argonath kingdoms, including Arthedain, which we saw yesterday on the tour, and a bit of Cardorn, which is primarily the Great Barrows. And of course Rudor. And here's one of the Argonath towers. Sorry, I keep losing you guys. Right. It's dotted with numerous, well, of course, towers, but then camps and troll caves with little hordes in them. Little ponds and mini hills, that's what it was known for. And it runs just north and a bit south of the Great East Road. It was led by Bevsfabros, our ex-Valor, and helped on by Captain Douglas, one of our ex-stewards. Right, that's about it for the Trollshaws, so we're going to continue on over to Rivendell. Alright, here we are in Rivendell, one of the most widely known locations on the server, along with Minas Tirith, of course, and Durin. This was the home of Elrond, and also the home of many heirs of Isildur, where Elrond's brother, Elros, was the founder of Númenor. His twin brother was. This again was made by Bevsfabros. All of the trees and sort of newer looking things, I guess, because a lot of Rivendell does look a bit outdated, not too much, but a lot of the newer stuff, such as the trees and the little benches and all the gussing up that you see is done by artists recently, earlier on this year, or late on last year. This is the first location on MCME that we used colored trees, besides maybe the one tree in Bree that's colored yellow. It was, besides Lothlórien, the only elf build we had for the longest time until Hithoel came along. And before it got redone by Bevsfabros, it was the only elf dwelling we had. Our build is comprised of the main thing you see is the last homely house, and then living quarters in the northernmost building. East of that, actually a bit further north, is the forge, where the shards of Narsa were reforged to make Anduril, Flame of the West. If we continue on down south of the last homely house, we can see the library of Elrond and the meeting place where the fellowship was forged. And of course that's always a fun place to see, because it looks just like it did in the movies, and it's really really well done, I think. because it overlooks the waterfalls and it's all nice and stuff.
User joined your channel.
To get here, and dissimilarities between the books and the movies. Aragorn actually forged Narsilgan, or had somebody forge it again, whilst he stayed in Rivendell with the 4 hobbits before the Fellowship was formed. So his plan, long before he left with them, was to become the King of Gondor, to help with the war. Also, instead of Arwen, who had nothing to do with war and violence and stuff like that, she was not the badass you see in the movies. It was actually an elf lord, Glorfindel, who came to the rescue of the hobbits. And Glorfindel just had Frodo mount his horse and basically hightailed all the way across the Bruinen, or the Loudwater, where Gandalf and Elrond both
User joined your channel.
cast a spell or protection on the river to wipe out the Nazgul and their horses, rather. If you come back up this way, up the stairs to the north, there is one more location to be found in Rivendell. And it wasn't ever mentioned in the books, but in The Hobbit, we just thought it would be a fun idea to add in the place where Saruman and Galadriel and Elrond and Gandalf met. And of course, the place that Elrond read the Moon Runes. The Moon Runes are over this way. You kind of hop across the waterfall. And I quite like this bit. It's very scenic and very nice. This was one of the bits that the artist made in the last year. It's a sort of touch-up of Rivendell. Gave it a facelift. Oh, look at that. Ryan Sarambar.
Dude.
Oh my.
He's an entire lore location on himself.
Tell me about it.
Oh, he's in here, scrub. Alright, well that sums up the Trollshaws in Rivendell. If anyone has any questions, please ask them at the end of the tour. Now we'll move on to our next location, whichever that may be. Take it away.
It's Tharbad, and Arkan, you could take everybody there with your teleporting powers. Yes.
I got the magic. I believe Vigo is doing this one, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
What?
Take it away, Giggs.
Oh, it's Tharbad?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. Woo! Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Tharbad, one of the greatest British settlements. Basically because they fucked up the natives. It was started as a Númenorian logging camp, when, well, the Númenors needed logs and wood, timber, all that kind of stuff to make some ships for their fleet. And they came here, and there were loads of woods. So they came here, started chopping them down, but they chopped down so many that the natives got very angry at them. And were like, hey dude, we need the trees. The trees are our resources and stuff. So they got very angry, started attacking them, and therefore they built these walls to make sure that the city kept it very safe. After that, they didn't really grow that much. They had some problems with plagues, etc. But they kept on their feet. And then when Arnor and Gondor got really strong, that's when they really expanded. Because Arnor and Gondor needed a strong link between the two kingdoms. And therefore they decided that this here Tharbad was a perfect place. So Tharbad created the bridges that we are currently working on. And it just grew. It became a huge hub for trade and general mercantilism. And, well, it sort of died out after the Great Plague, but the Great Plague didn't necessarily kill all the people in Tharbad, it rather killed all the people Tharbad traded with, which sort of made, well, it made it very hard to stay here because they lived on trading. They didn't have any trees left and all the natives were dead, so they couldn't really use any other people. The whole Tharbad was ruined by Mr. Credo, and it took about a month, I think, if I recall correctly. And I think we are thinking about redoing it, if I am not really that wrong.
I'm not sure about that.
Not really that wrong.
Yeah, great. The river was hollowed out by men. The river was actually very, very, how do you call it? Shallow? Very not deep, which made it very hard to have ships. So trading and having vessels in the port made it, well, it was very hard. So they had to deepen it, which made it one of the bigger achievements of men at that time, because it took a very much resources and stuff. Well, I'm pretty shite at lore, so I don't know if there's anything else to be said, really. And if
It's
there's
great
any,
for PvP.
yeah, it's fantastic for PvP. One of the best PvP maps there was. Well, except for maybe, I don't know, like Moria. Moria was pretty damn fun.
You're right.
If any other of the guards with their magical, not guards, Jesus Christ, other guides have any fantastic knowledge, or maybe Finrod Amandil, our personal Lord of the Rings wiki, has anything to add?
Only one small thing regarding how it has been ruined, like in the historical meanings, not on the server. After the two important winters, or the fell winter and the long winter, where, yeah, as the name says, there were two really long and cold winters in
User joined your channel.
After these, the meltwater from the mountains flooded large parts of the city and made great damage to the entire structure. So, yeah, in case you ever ask yourself why it is ruined, that's mostly one of the reasons. But yeah, that's all about what I know else about that.
I guess that leads us into Ost-in-Edhil, right?
Yay! Ost-in-Edhil.
Fantastic.
So here we are in Ost-in-Edhil. Ost-in-Edhil, it was the capital of the realm Eregion, and Eregion was the realm of Noldor Elves. They came from Beleriand when it was destroyed, and perhaps also from Valinor before that. It's a very important city because, apart from being the capital of Eregion, this was where the Rings of Power, most of the Rings of Power were created here. One of the kings, I think it was, I don't remember his name, but he...
Name's not important.
Yes, Celebrimbor, thank you. He liked he met Annatar, that was actually Sauron in disguise, and Annatar sort of convinced him to create these Rings of Power, saying that they would bring more power to Celebrimbor himself, that would help him in his craft and stuff like that. The Noldor Elves, they are the elves that are most like the Dwarves, because they were friends with Aule, and Aule was the Valar who created the Dwarves. I'm gonna talk more about this later on, when we are in Moria. And here they founded, they created the 7 rings for the dwarves, the 3 for the elves, and the 9 for the men. And the elves themselves and Sauron, they distributed these rings to the races. And later on, as you all know, Sauron himself forged his own ring in Maldon, and through it he could control all the other races that had those rings. And there was later on a war with Sauron, the elves of Eregion, made a war with Sauron, which destroyed the realm and much of the city. When the Fellowship came here, by the year 3018 or 3018 of the Third Age, when they came here, this whole city was basically just a bunch of stone in a hill, so there wasn't much about it at all. But on the server, we decided to build it not that ruined, because it wouldn't be very interesting. So we made it sort of ruined that is sort of controversial. And the first version of Ost-in-Edhil in the server, it was actually built in a week, it is said, by the steward Argonath, the old steward Argonath. Actually, Will told me that he took 5 days to build and 5 days to run, so that's basically 1 week. If you guys want to see the old Ost-in-Edhil, it doesn't look as good as this one, but it's impressive that it was built in 1 week. If you guys want to see it, perhaps Avery, Arkengard, could teleport us to there in the old map.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank
Stop
you.
one on memory lane.
So here we are, as Arkengard said, this is the old Ost-in-Edhil that took basically 1 week to be built. There's an Easter egg here. Let me see if we can find it.
Another great PvP map for those of you out there who can.
Oh yeah, it was.
And all themed it, and it was true.
The new Ost-in-Edhil, I think the project was led by Red. Yeah. He was a designer at the time.
Red's been all this.
It was artisan.
Yeah. And I think that's it about Ost-in-Edhil. And the next location, if I'm not mistaken, is the Misty Mountains in general. And Finrod is going to show us his creation.
Life and obsession of the last few months.
Alright, so the Misty Mountains are by far the most important mountains in Middle-earth regarding history. Already in the First Age, or let's say when Middle-earth was created by the Valar and Eru and Derif and all those guys, Melkor, who was kinda the opponent of everyone else, made the Misty Mountains and made them really, really high, even higher and more scary looking than they are nowadays. He did that to prevent the elves that awoke in at the lake of Rhovanion, which is in the far east of Middle-earth. Melkor wanted to prevent them from traveling to the Undying Lands, which are, as you know, very far west of Middle-earth. And in fact, when the elves started traveling westwards, many of them turned back when they saw the Misty Mountains and thought, hey, we can never get over these mountains. And some of these elves that returned there are now known as the elves of the Woodland realm, so those that live in Mirkwood, and also some that are living in Lothlórien. Yeah, and as you know, also in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbits, these mountains play a very important role. They are probably one of the biggest obstacles on the journey to wherever the Hobbits want to go, respectively the dwarves. And yeah, there are only very few passes over these mountains, and one we are currently walking on, which is the Redhorn Pass, which is being tried to get over the mountain with by Frodo and his companions. You may now wonder, because in the book this pass is not described as friendly looking as it is here, but the reason why it is like that is because they tried to cross it, I think, in January or February, so in the deepest winter, and everything was snow covered here. But our server is basically set in summer, because if it would not be, basically the entire map would be covered in snow. So it's summer currently, and the snow starts far further up. If Arken could teleport everyone to you, that's about the spot where the Fellowship turned around. Yeah, and further up they did not get. Today I think we will walk at least to the very top of the pass, and yeah, look how it's looking there. Now to the server lore. I started, or first we had this mountain ridge as basic world painted terrain, which was kinda not so detailed yet, and especially not that logical regarding flowing water, like they were closed off valleys where if it would rain down in there, the water would never get out. And I started majorly revamping the Misty Mountains in summer 2014. It took me about half a year to finish off the first section, which is the Mountains of Moria, which we are in now. And currently I'm working together with Emil and a few others on the next part, which is between here and Rivendell. And yeah, until we have finished the entire mountain ridge, it will take another few years, but as you see, it's totally worth it. So let's see where everyone is. So at least where I am, we're at a small lake, which is created by the glacier that is coming down from the mountains, so it's a meltwater lake. And soon the snowy area will start. Yeah, okay. Credo is just saying me that something is wrong with my microphone. Is it really bad? Do I have to change anything, or is it bearable?
It's not that bad.
Okay, then I will.
It's noticeably robotic, but it's also noticeably understandable.
Alright, then I'll leave it for now. Okay. Yeah, we are now in the area which is snow covered the entire year, and soon we will reach the very top of the pass. There you will find a small sign which is giving a height for the pass. Actually, there is no height given in the lore. It has been calculated a bit based on a number
User
given
in your
in
channel
the
timed out.
Atlas of Middle-earth, which gives 12,000 feet height for the Caradhras, so just the highest mountains of the mountains. And yeah, Caradhras is 255 blocks high, and I think the pass is somewhat 190 or something. And yeah, then I calculated just that. So the number given there is
User
not
joined
in
your
lore, but
channel.
more or less realistic. So yeah, the glaciers you see here are all built by hand,
User joined your
in
channel.
chops usually. We're using the layered snow to make them look really smooth and like steadily going down and not being so blocky as they would be if you would only use normal snow blocks. And actually very much knowledge about glaciology and geography and such was put into these mountains, so you can say these are quite realistic. Yeah, what's next on the program? Alright,
The Redhorn Gate?
there's the next thing on the program is Durin's Tower. I think we can quickly warp there. It's a bit south from here, from the Redhorn Pass. Durin's Tower, of course, is a part of Moria, one of the few things that is actually above ground. A real purpose of this tower was not given in the lore, but it's known as the location where Balrog, where Gandalf fights the Balrog. It's located at the end of the Endless Stairs, which is going through the entirety of Moria from the lowest caves to this tower here, on top of the mountain that is called Silvertine, or Cilibdil in Elvish. The other two famous mountains of Moria are the Redhorn, or Caradhras in Elvish, and the Cloudy Head, which is Hithoel in Elvish. The tower was built as a contest, and it was won by, I hope I don't tell any wrong things here, I think it was won by Bender, right? Isn't it? No, damn it.
That's me.
Oh,
Ariel.
Ariel, sorry. I had an artist in mind and you're already stuff. That's kind of showing how much it brought you forth.
User disconnected from your channel.
Oh, alright. Yeah, that's basically about Durin's Tower. So, lady, do you have the overview? What's next?
Yes, now we will see Moria.
User was moved to your channel.
This is the old Moria, by the way, and I advise everyone to type /FBT chat, because otherwise it'll make everything would be really dark, and FBT helps a lot writing things. And Moria is one of my favorite locations to tour. I have probably given around 20 tours here. Starting with the lore, with Tolkien lore, Moria was founded by Durin the Deathless, and Durin the Deathless, he is the oldest dwarf to be created. He was the first dwarf to be created by Aule, who was the guy who created the dwarves. Basically, Ilúvatar, that is sort of the god of Middle-earth, he told the Lhaw that he would bring people like elves and men that would be the children of Ilúvatar. But Aule was getting impatient to have someone to talk to and teach things to, so he decided to create his own people. But he didn't have the flame imperishable, that is the flame that gives life to things, that only Ilúvatar has that. So the dwarves, they couldn't think for themselves and do things for themselves. They sort of acted like They only did things that Aule wanted them to do. And Aaron Lovator ended up figuring out about this, and he got sort of mad because he wanted the elves to be the first children of Lovator to see Middle-earth and everything. So he made the dwarves real people with his flame perishable and made the dwarves sleep until the elves came to Middle-earth. And those were 7 dwarves, and each one of them had his own house. And the house of Durin the Deathless was the Longbeard's house. A lot of important dwarves from a lot of important dwarves from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, they are from this house. Okay, Thorin Oakenshield, Gimli, Glóin, Bufur, Kili, Fili, all of them are from this house. And I will talk about the history of this house right now. So at first, during the Deathless, he slept under the mountain of Yundabad. I think that was the name. And later on, he went south to the valley east of the Misty Mountains. I think it's called Dimrill. Yes, it's called Dimrill. And he saw his reflection in a lake that is called now the Mirrormere. He saw his reflection in this lake, and he saw a crown of stairs above his head in the reflection. So he sort of took that as a sign, and since the dwarf is like underground stuff, he founded the city of Moria, as you can see. It was actually only called Moria after it was abandoned in the 3rd age. So at first it was called Khazad-dûm. I'm gonna refer to it as Khazad-dûm from now on till it is abandoned. During the Deathless, despite being called the Deathless, he did die. In the end of the 1st age, he died. But he's called the Deathless because many dwarves believed that he reincarnated into the other race, into the other kings of Moria. So there were during the 1st, that was him, during the 2nd, during the 3rd, etc., until the last one, who was during the 60th. And all of them, it was said that they were reincarnations of Durin the Deathless. After Durin died, the wealth of Khazad-dûm actually increased because it was in the end of the 1st age, and Beleriand was destroyed. Beleriand, if you don't know, was an area. It was a big area west of the known Middle-earth. And many people lived there, many elves lived there, many dwarves, many men. And it sunk later because of a war that happened, the War of Wrath. And the dwarves that lived in the mountains of, in the Blue Mountains, in the cities of Nagrast and Belegast, they came here to Moria. They had to go somewhere, so they came here to Khazad-dûm. And they took all of their knowledge and lore and craftsmanship with them. So the wealth of Khazad-dûm increased. And after some time, no, it's here, right, don't go forward. Here on the server, just gonna talk about it a little bit. Moria was this version of Moria. It was one of the first builds on the server. It is the oldest one that people still explore. It was built back in the end of 2010 and the beginning of 2011, I think. It took around 4 months to be built, and people used a very primitive voxel, and I think worded it didn't exist at the time. Or it was the opposite, very primitive worded it and voxel didn't exist. When you look at the walls of the caves, you can see that they weren't really good to whatever program they were using, because it's sort of obvious that they were using it. Most of our projects these days, they do take really long, even though they aren't as big as Moria, because we are working now on many projects at once. And I suppose that when Moria was built, it was basically only Moria. These designs on the walls, they show the collaboration between elves and dwarves from Eregion, the Noldor dwarves that I talked about earlier, and the dwarves from Khazad. They were friendly with each other, they traded a lot, and the West Gate was created to facilitate the collaboration. It was created in the Second Age. And I might as well show you the King's Place. For some reason, when they built this, they decided to build close to the West Gate, but this is sort of lore inaccurate because Moria was built from east to west, so it was actually only completed in the west during the Second Age. There are still some Easter eggs here in Khazad. I might show you one of them.
User in your channel timed out.
I can see them back to the hall if you want.
Okay. Much of the wealth of Khazad came from Mithril. That was a metal that was only found here. And here as well is where the king stood, I think. His throne. It's very small throne, as you can see, compared to thrones of Gondor and Rohan, for example.
User entered your channel.
Parth, you can take us now to the hall. Thank you. So over here, the actual way through Moria is over here. After some time after Moria became very wealthy, they started losing people for some reason, and they started losing their wealth as well, because Mithril doesn't last forever, and it was getting scarcer and more hard to find. So they started digging deeper and deeper, and they ended up actually waking a Balrog that is called Durin's Bane. You probably have heard of him, you probably have seen him in the movies. He is the Balrog here, everybody. Here. This is what happens when you don't follow the guide. Always follow the guide. Alright. Yeah, they woke that Balrog up, and he killed the last Durin. That was during the 60th. And the next year, he killed his son as well. So the dwarves that were still alive fled from Moria, and most of them went to Erebor, to the Lonely Mountain, and they founded a city there, and found a lot of gold and everything. I think the dwarf who founded Erebor, he was the son. He was sort of the grandchild. He was sort of a grandson of Well, project, that's pretty much what I read in the Lothlórien, in the appendix of the Lothlórien, so I'm not sure about that. But also, staying in Erebor didn't work very well because of smoke, of course. What happened was that some of the dwarves, they went to the Grey Mountains, but it wasn't really a good idea because there were some dragons there. So they stayed there for some time, but then the dragons became more numerous, and they ended up attacking the dwarf city of the Grey Mountains. And since the Grey Mountains are very close to the Lonely Mountain, just a little bit north and west, I think, Smaug ended up attacking the Lonely Mountain as well. And we are now in the flooded Hall. This is the statue of probably Durin the First, that is Durin the Deathless. But it isn't the actual way, so everybody will have to go here, turn right. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, worms and dragons, they came from the same Old English word. I'm not sure really about that. Anyway, we are now almost midway across Moria, I think. Yeah, it's really big. And we are close to Durin's Crossroads, yes. This was the place where you most likely know Gandalf said, he said, I have no memory of this place in both the movies and the books. And in the movies, I think they went left, I think. But the right way is right over here on the server. Guarantee.
User left your channel. User was moved out of your channel.
Who's moving people?
It was the fishy.
Try not to get lost here. I hope everybody has FBT on. Here, everybody?
Please be here.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, all these bad things happened to the Dwarven kingdoms because of the ring of power that one of them, that the king of them was wearing. And after Smaug attacked Erebor, the king, he fled, of course, and I think he gave the ring to his son. But the king, who was Thrall, he ended up he got crazy and he tried to reclaim Moria from the Balrog.
User joined your channel.
And he came here in the East Gate with a friend of his, and he entered through the East Gate, and he didn't come back in a while. And his friend got apprehensive, of course, but it wasn't a really good friend because he just waited outside instead of getting in and helping him. And after some time, Nine, I think Nine was the name of Frost's friend. He heard the noise and he saw the head of his friend being thrown out of this gate. And there was something branded in his forehead saying that Azog was the king of Moria. By then it was already called Moria because it was already abandoned by the dwarves. So what we learned from that from this stage is that the orcs completely took over Moria, and Nine, he told the story to Thor's son, that is Thrain, I think. These dwarves have complicated names. And Thrain declared war on the orcs, and thus began the War of Orcs and Dwarves. It was a long war. It's not disorder, Arkengard, it's Thor, Thrain, and Rhovanion can show later. Just saying. We are actually now in the Great Forge, as you can see. The other part of it later. Just have to keep walking. So Thrain declared war on the orcs, and then the dwarves started attacking the places where the orcs lived in the Misty Mountains. And it was a bloody battle, and it was a bloody war, and it ended in the Battle of Azanobizar. It happened by the east gate of Moria, which we're going to see later. So as you can see, it's a very important place. It was where Moria was founded. It was where Thor was slain, and it was where the War of Orcs and Dwarves ended. When it ended and Azog was killed, because Azog was killed in that war and he was not alive in the time of the story of the Hobbit, as you probably know. A lot of things in those movies are lore inaccurate. He was killed, but the dwarves, they couldn't reclaim Moria because the Balrog was still there, even though there weren't many orcs. The Balrog was still there. So Thrain and his son Thorin, they went to the Blue Mountains. And they founded sort of a house there and lived there for a while. They didn't find gold or precious thing there. They found iron. So Thrain and Thorin, they were really dejected, and they wanted to reclaim the homes. They wanted to reclaim Erebor and Moria, but especially Erebor. So Thrain himself, he tried to reclaim Erebor. So he went in a journey much like that of the Thorin showed, the 13 dwarves and Bilbo, as you probably know. That is narrated in the book The Hobbit. He went in a journey like that, but he got captured in Mirkwood, and he was taken to Dumbledore, if I'm not mistaken. Dumbledore is a place. Yes, he was. It's sort of the place of Sauron in Mirkwood, and he was killed there. Some years later, Thorin went to Bree. And in the Pressing Pony, he found Gandalf, and they both talked about Erebor. They talked about reclaiming Erebor. They continued the location. They continued the conversation in the Blue Mountains, in Thorin's house in the Blue Mountains, where it was decided that they would take 13 dwarves, including Thorin and a burglar that would be a hobbit. And Tharbad didn't like the idea much at first, as you probably know, but he ended up accepting. And yeah, he's pleased over here. So
This is my
they are.
favorite room in all of Moria.
It's not even that important. Just a place where they worship it only, probably.
The estate.
And this tunnel here, as you can see, it is most probably an orc tunnel. It's very obvious here on the server which tunnels were made by the orcs and which passages were made by the dwarves. So as I was saying, Tharbad and Gandalf, they decided what to do to reclaim Erebor, and they went in a quest which most of you probably know about. And it was sort of successful, because they did reclaim Moria, they did reclaim Erebor, and yeah, sort of, because the king of Erebor became one of the cousins that was also the king of... Yes, it spoils, but the last movie, it has been like 8 months since it was released, so I don't mind. Everybody here. We are almost in the end. And who became the king of Erebor was the king of the Iron Hills, I think. Iron Hills is another dwelling of the dwarves that is east of Erebor. And he became the king because Tharbad and all his heirs had died. Fili had died and Kili had died. This hall here was actually, if I'm not mistaken, the only hall which was excavated by hand. This is what they told me, and I've seen some screenshots of it. Actually, must have taken some days. Yeah, it's ugly, like everything here. Really? I mean, everything in Moria, I'm sorry. Because it's old. Well, not the second hall, not much. The second hall is where we are now. I don't know what's up with the design of the west gate in the walls, but it doesn't look that bad. It is the largest hall in Moria. It was one of the first houses to be built. It was actually the second house to be built, as the name says. The elves, the dwarves, they weren't very creative with names. There is also a hall called the first hall, which is much smaller than this one here. I went forward.
GG.
Thank you, Avery.
GG.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was Darius Bane himself, Balrog, who created that pit over there. And this is the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, which most of you are familiar with. It was where Gandalf fought the Balrog. It was built so that if someone tried to attack Moria from the east gate, that is very close to here, the army would have to walk in a single file in order to not fall, and that would be difficult. So it was built mainly for protection. It is very close to the east gate, which we're going to see soon. Also, What was his name? Barlin, yes, Barlin, dwarf from The Hobbit. He tried to reclaim Moria later, and they were successful at first. He became the king of Moria for around very few years, like 5 years, I think. But later on, he was shot, and he was shot by an orc, probably, and it ended. Anyone that is recording this, you'll have to cut or erase because someone just said the password in chat, the TeamSpeak password. This is the first how, by the way. It's not very interesting anyway, not as impressive as the second one. And now we have reached, at least I have reached, the end of Moria, the Ace Gate.
Thank you very much, Lottie.
You're welcome.
I really don't know that much about Moria at all. And I remember listening to Fornad just going on for ages. And same with you.
So inconsiderate, Fornad.
Rip Fornad. Yeah, thanks. Lady Fornad.
Forever being our banter.
Through that.
GG.
I forgot this was on the other
This
world.
is the East Gate, the new map, and Mirrormere. And if I'm not mistaken, Rhodanion is going to talk more about Dimrill.
Yes, alright.
Better.
As said, we're here at Mirrormere, or if you want to hear it in the other languages, in Elvish it's called MCME, and in Dwarfish it's Kedet Saram.
User
As you
joined your
see, we
channel.
have some structures here that are obviously not in the lore. If you have missed it, we were celebrating the opening ceremony here because the event is called the Three Peaks Summer Event, and the Three Peaks are the three mountains of Moria. So it was a good sport to start. Start the summer events here. Now for the lore on this lake. The special thing is you see a stone pillar right at the southern end of the lake, which is known as Durin Stone. And this was the spot. As Lady said before, Moria was built from the east to the west gate, so this one here is the older gate. And Durin Stone was actually the spot where Durin the Deathless watched the lake, or looked into the lake, and what he saw was his reflection, but also a crown of stars upon his head, and they took it as sign to found his new dwarven kingdom here. Then server lore wise, as you see, there is a reflection of the entire terrain and also the summer event things below the lake. And yeah, the lake is called Mirrormere, and that's not for random, but because the lake actually mirrors everything that is above. And we were using World Edit to flip the entire terrain and paste it upside down below the lake. It was something we invented some years ago, first for the lakes in the Glittering Caves, which we probably will visit later, tomorrow I think. And we also use this principle here. Yeah, it was also redone as the entire terrain around it by me the last year. Especially the lake got moved a bit further north, so that the Dimrill Dale below it is a bit longer. Yeah, that's about it, and I think we can continue with the road. Yeah, the Redhorn Pass we left before is actually coming down here, so if you after the tour or so want to walk the entire Redhorn Pass, you will end up here. And yeah, I think we would just walk down the road.
Echo. My ears.
Ariel, me, thank you.
Yeah, we would best walk down the road now and eventually end up at a spot which is covered by the one person who knows probably the most about it at the moment.
I actually don't know who that is.
Avery, take us to Lothlórien.
And maybe Ariel may have a word about it, what is happening right now.
Yeah. Well, he just spans.
What's going on? Freaking out!
Calm down, people. Calm down.
How dare you, Giga? Oh no.
User disconnected from your channel.
Okay, first of all, we added a lot of vegetation in Lothlórien in the last month, and but some of the textures are not in the Lothlórien pack yet, so it's you should switch use Gondor pack as secondary texture pack. As we used quite a lot of textures of Gondor pack, we wanted to copy to Lothlórien pack, but that has not been done yet.
Where are you, Harry?
Well, I'm at the entrance of Lothlórien, where the Fellowship came to Lothlórien, pursued by the orcs of Moria. I think first interesting place is where Haldir and his brothers, who guarded the northern border of Lothlórien, who rescued the Fellowship by taking them up to their flat. So the orcs can't find them. It's near the crossing, in the book it's very near to the crossing of the Nimrodel. In our map it's a bit more east of that. Till we get there, I think I can say a word about the people of Lothlórien.
User joined your channel.
In Lothlórien mainly there lived Nandor, so forest elves, which never came to Beleriand in the First Age. And after the First Age, quite a lot of elves from Beleriand came back to Lothlórien and merged with the people of Lothlórien. About what not all people
User left
of
your
Lothlórien
channel.
were happy, as they said, oh, you are bringing the war in our peaceful country. One of those were Nimrodel, who fell in love with Amroth. So it was quite a difficult thing for Amroth to get the love of Nimrodel. I think we'll hear about Amroth and Nimrodel a little bit more tomorrow when we come to Eregion, where they planned to go on a ship to go to the west, to leave the wars of Middle Earth. Yeah, it's the story is a bit weird or not clear. There are several versions. In one version, Amroth is the son of Galadriel and Celeborn. In another one, he's the son of Amdir, who's Sindar, king of Lothlórien. So now I'm here at nearly at the flat where.
User left your channel.
Just here where I'm. I think this is a flat where Haldir rescued the Fellowship. Here's a pile of malon leaves where they hide their luggage, I think. And then they spent the night on this flat. I think there were only Frodo and Sam with the elves, and the rest of the Fellowship was on the other flat over here. Whoops. And yeah, from here they heard the orcs crossing below, following the path. And those orcs were ambushed by the guards of Lothlórien and so the next day the fellowship continued on the path, led by Haldir. And a bit on the way, they came into the place where they crossed the Silver Lode and came to the heart of Lothlórien, the Night. And in the last later days of the Third Age, the elves of Lothlórien didn't build bridges because of the threat of Dol Guldur and Moria. And now we are in a part of Lothlórien we haven't worked on, so you see the original state in January, where only the large Malon, and it's very dark here, and there's no flowers, no grass, and it's quite boring and not at all like the description in the book. Quite a lot of work to do here. Yeah, one thing about Malon trees, maybe. The first name of this country was, I have to look it up. A moment. It was, where is it? In Dorinan, which means Valley of the Singers. There were no Malon trees in the First Age here, just the normal trees. Here at this place, I've done a bit of terraforming. Here has to be a river soon. And the Malons originally came from Amon, where they grew, and elves of Eregion, the lonely island, brought them to Numenor as a gift. And in the west of Numenor, the Malons, which seems to need quite a specific climate to grow, in the west of Numenor, they grew very well. And the sixth king of Numenor, Eregion, gave some seeds to Gil-galad in Lindon as a gift. But in Lindon, the Malons didn't grow. The climate was not acceptable for them. So Gil-galad again gave some of the seeds to Galadriel, which brought them to Lothlórien. It's not clear in the lore if that was in the third or second age. Again, different stories, different versions of the story. And I think it's probably mostly due to the might of Galadriel's ring, Nanya, the ring of water, which make the Malons grow here. It's basically the only place in Middle-earth where Malon growing. So now we are on the flat of Amroth. He was probably the first elf who lived in trees. It's not really usual for elves to live in trees, only in Caras Galadhon, those homes are common. Frodo also went up here with Haldir and looked to the east and saw the shadow of Dol Guldur. Now I think it's best we walk to Caras Galadhon.
Walk to Caras Galadhon.
Thank you.
And then Ark teleported us.
Nice.
So this is the current Amroth, where we were before, is the heart of the old Nandor kingdom, and this Caras Galadhon is newer, maybe founded by Galadriel. And there are huge Malons here, and Galadriel welcomed the Fellowship at the greatest Malon, which is here. on the top of the hill. I think I have to get up a bit more quickly. So, which one is it? I think this here.
User disconnected from your channel.
Yeah, here the hall on the high flats and the hall of Galadriel at Celeborn, where they welcome the fellowship. In the book they are sitting on two chairs directly beneath a living tree, and actually added those seeds and the branch of the melon. How to like it? Yeah, and the fellowship spent quite a long time here in Karas Galadon, about a month. But they didn't really notice that they were discussing later if they were spent here 2 days or 3 or 4. It's a completely other time. A feeling of time here in Lothlórien, mainly because of the Ring of Galadriel, which preserves the elves, the time of the elves here during the coming date of the man. Okay, I think we will.
My turn.
Okay.
Never mind.
No mind.
One last place in Lothlórien to show. It's the farewell place where Galadriel bade farewell to the Fellowship. It's between the Silverlord and Anduin.
Farewell.
User joined your channel.
Hey, come on. Need to TP people.
Hey, do your job.
Hey!
Why is it so bad out there?
Yeah.
Avery, what the hell?
Ali kidding, guys.
Hello.
Hello. You all.
Wait, Creeder?
What?
Hello, Credu.
Hello.
Hey, Credo.
Hi, Craig.
So,
You do hi.
yeah, so here on this lawn, the Fellowship had their farewell from Galadriel and Celeborn, and Galadriel gave their gifts to the Fellowship, the Field of Light to Frodo, the Melon Seed to Sam, and I think it's, so everyone got the thing, and only Gimli. For Gimli,
User
Galadriel
left your channel.
hadn't prepared a present, but he paid for a...
User in your channel timed out.
I don't know in English. Some hairs.
A lock of hair.
Yeah, exactly, from Galadriel, which he wanted to make a heirloom for his house. And he got it.
User left your channel.
So I think this is a good place to bid farewell to Lothlórien and continue with the tour.
Alright, ladies, before I TP you all down to the Argonath, well, first of all, somebody, Ariel, mute your mic.
Yeah.
Scrub. And secondly, everyone just go ahead before I warp you and change to Rohan texture pack. It's always a fun time to see different regions and different textures, especially when it's Lothlórien.
It should change automatically, but yeah.
Okay, well,
Lothlórien
regardless.
has a texture
Try
too.
Moria in Lothlórien.
Alright, welcome to the Argonath. I'm going to be finishing off today's tour with the Nin Hithoel, which is the lake that the Argonath guarded, basically. These two statues were the ancient kings Isildur and Aenarion. Aenarion? Let me look up. But they... Alright, well, they guarded the northern border of Gondor. And basically, for any travelers coming down the river, not that there were many, but for any travelers coming down the river, this would be the marker for the coming into Gondor. In the books, as I said earlier at Rivendell, Aragorn accepted his kingship a lot earlier than he did in the movies, as people who haven't read the books believe. So of course, when he looked up and saw his ancestors carved into stone, it was said that he looked just like them. He assumed that really regal look about him. I'm going to TP you all to a fellowship camp along Parth Galen, I believe. This is where I made a fire and sort of made the decision to either go with Frodo to Mordor or to go with Boromir to Minas Tirith, as was the quest for Aragorn until Gandalf died, and he assumed the role of the leader for the hobbits. Of course, shut up, Kev. Alright. Of course, Frodo did give the entire fellowship the slip, and he went ahead and went to the eastern bank. But Sam, of course, knew his master too well and followed him anyways. Alright, at the top of this hill, where we landed, this is the western bank, and on top of the western bank hill was the ruins of Amon Hin. Basically, the hill of seeing. And from this hill you could see miles and leagues and leagues and leagues of basically terrain and places all across Gondor and Rohan, or at least west or eastern Gondor. It was said that you could see the White Mountains from here, all the way down south, and to the left you could look out into the lands of Rhûn, over the hills of Mirrormere, which border the southern area of the lake. And then to the west, you saw the slopes of the Misty Mountains and then the actual Misty Mountains. You couldn't see Lothlórien to the north, I don't think. If anything, it was just a slim gold line in the distance. The lake itself is 20 miles long and 10 miles wide. I know. I read up on it. GG. Anyways. And at the southern border, around 22 Numenorean miles, that is.
Nerd.
Anyways, at the southern border, the most iconic part of the lake, besides the Argonath, was the Falls of Rauros, where Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas sent Boromir after his death. In the middle of these falls is the hill Tol Brandir, and it was said that you could actually swim on the southern side of it. On here, you cannot do that. And it honestly, okay. It's better this way because it's more accurate to the height. Because it was described as this massive rock that no beast has ever dwelled on, besides birds. No man has ever climbed. And then all the way to the east was the ruins of Amon Lhaw, the Hill of Hearing. And it was called this because the echoes around Imminwil reverberate so well around here that you could be heard for you could hear things from many miles away. And this is, of course, the general area that Frodo and Sam banked to head into Imminwil. After they got out of Imminwil, that was where they met Galen in the Dead Marshes, which we will cover tomorrow. Anduin led off the Falls of Rauros and into the sea. Thank you all for your time.
Love you.
Bye.
Schultz said they get fun.
And now time for the Super Pick Challenge with Finrod.
If you want to join.